Ladies and gentlemen, a very good morning. Thank you so much indeed for joining us at SkillsFest25. This is session number 8 of 11. We've been having a very busy week, which is fantastic. And we have another bunch of speakers today who are going to entice us with different sectors, looking at it from different perspectives, talking about UK skills and professional bodies, as we have done on every session this week. We do have 3 sessions today. One is at 8 o'clock, which is this one, of course, one at 12 noon and one at 4 p.m. And the final one tomorrow will be at 8 a.m. That polishes off the 11 sessions this week. Let me just quickly introduce the group that you've got online this morning. So Victoria Horrox, she's from the Learning Curve group. She joins us, I think, from Malaysia this morning, just to show the global nature of our group. Debbie Johnson and Abby Stoker from Innovate UK. Jane Rexworthy from Skills for Health, but also the chair of the UK Skills Partnership. David Sales from First Ascent Group, Stuart Liversedge from Transcend Awards, Tad Chapman, and is Tim joining us, Tad, as well at some point?
He'll join us for the Q&A. Yes, he's there as a technical expert.
Okay. So Risr, and then you've got the Royal Society for Public Health, and that's William Roberts. So let's not loiter anymore. Let's dive straight in. Victoria's up first, so she will do her presentation. We will all disappear, folks, but we're going to come back in and change every time there's a new speaker, a new presentation. So thanks very much indeed for joining. Victoria.
Good morning, good afternoon, everyone. It's great to see you all here. My name is Victoria Horrox. I'm Director of International Sales and Partnerships at Learning Curve Group. We are a UK-based training provider. I will be sharing who we are, what we do, and how we support skills development globally through EdTech qualifications and partnerships today. Okay, so who we are. Learning Curve Group are one of the largest private training providers in the UK and one of the most well-recognised through our purple values, which which is an ethos that we all absolutely live by. We are a leading international training provider, funded through education and skills grants and commercial revenue. We impact in excess of over 200,000 learners per year through our solutions, and our growth has been driven by how we adapt to the evolving education and skills landscapes, with agility being a key part of what we do internationally. Okay, so what we do, well, we offer a huge range of learning solutions, specialising in EdTech products, training delivery, LMS platform, online qualifications, flexible learning options with a big focus on TVET in key industries. So really focused on talent development, on skills development, on employment pathways and academic pathways internationally. So I've included some examples of some of our more recent international projects, and I'll go into a little bit more detail as we progress through the presentation. But we've recently completed a cyber security pilot with Papua New Guinea University that was delivering our level 2 cyber security qualification, which is awarded by NCFE. We also recently completed a big contract with the Ministry of Public Services in Malaysia, which was very much focused on cultivating elite negotiators for global challenges. Within this, we combined industry, HE, skills development, and industry insights to deliver leadership and negotiation training, and a project that we'll be showcasing a little further along is our recent project with the British Council in Botswana, which was delivering ILM qualification to TVET female leaders in Botswana. An upcoming project is with Reform Academy in Turkey, in which we're focusing on developing awareness around autism. Okay, so looking at our EdTech suite, technology is very central to our approach and how we deliver internationally. We offer our own eAssessor Pro, which is our own LMS service, which can be fully white label to all organisations and can host learning curve group content and can also host your other content that can be fully customized and adapted to our platform. We offer Careers Pro internationally as well, which is our AI powered platform, which identifies learners' top career qualities, helping them to choose careers aligned with their skills and aspirations, and supports the achievement of Gatsby benchmarks. And then Destinations Pro is also a very popular solution, which is really focused on collecting and tracking learner destinations, which is an issue that a lot of us have struggled with over the years. So within our qualifications, we have an extensive range of qualifications that are available, focused in key sectors like health and social care, childcare and education, digital and IT, business and leadership, hospitality, retail, and mental health and well-being. So we work with governments, we work with universities, we work with colleges, training providers and international schools to offer a wide range of online qualifications and online short courses that basically meet the needs of the changing needs within the education and skills space. Popular modules include mental health awareness, cybersecurity in healthcare, understanding autism and various other topics. We have had a lot of interest in cybersecurity, and we offer a variety of different methods. So we offer flexible learning qualifications, but also face-to-face learning solutions and delivery, working through a network of partners across Southeast Asia and the Middle East. Okay, so looking at our enrichment certificated courses, these are a range of, it's a new suite of enrichment modules which can enhance existing provision and support in building real world skills beyond the classroom. We've recently gone through an NCFE cash endorsement for a selection of our enrichment courses, and covering key topics like business and current affairs, digital, employability, skills for life, health and well-being, sustainability. So a lot of key topics that are very prevalent across skills development and talent development. So we work with a lot of kind of government agencies, a lot of global employers to really embed these courses into their skills development practices and learning and development strategies. Okay, so a key part of what we do at Learning Curve Group is really, and a key area of our expertise is around curriculum development and digital learning. We obviously the learning and development landscape is evolving rapidly across sectors. So we work and offer services around developing online learning content, including bespoke digital learning, modular off-the-shelf content. We have a whole range of off-the-shelf curriculum services and learning resources that are available to add value and enhance existing provision. And we can also offer strategic learning advice and curriculum redesign services. Recently, we completed a project with a client in South Africa who is a subject matter expert within his space within mining and water treatment. He's an academic, has a company called Tibbs and Technology, a whole heap of learning that he wanted to be transferred over to online learning. So we worked with him to transfer the learning content over to online learning, customize the course and promote the online learning courses via our network as well. So that's proving to be a really strong proof of concept and a strong case study of how we can develop online learning content with specialist organisations. We work with awarding bodies, so we work with NCFE, we work with City and Guilds and other organisations to develop learning content that wraps around key qualifications, to support with kind of that curriculum development and provide additional resources for qualifications. We work with corporate clients requiring scalable learning for workforce development and compliance, and independent training providers and colleges to really enhance their provision as well. Okay, so our learning content and resources are proving, well, they're hugely popular across the UK and internationally. They cover around 100 different qualifications and subject areas, and are available fully online. We already work with over 250 colleges throughout the world, and a key part of what we are offering there are our learning content and resources, which are all awarding body approved, all hosted on our LMS platform, ESS Pro, and everything comes with comprehensive tutor guides as well to support the delivery teams as well. Okay, so here's some examples of who we work with here. I've mentioned previously we work and collaborate with partners worldwide. Fundamentally, we work a lot with the British Chambers across Asia and the Middle East and in the UK. We work very closely with the British Council and, of course, the UK Skills Partnership, who we are members of. The bulk of our qualifications and offering are awarded by NCFE, AIM Qualifications and Assessment Group, City and Guilds, BTCT, and TQ UK. Collaboration is a key part of what we do, both in the UK and internationally. A key part of everything we do is developing and nurturing relationships and partnerships so we can consistently achieve and deliver good results. Okay, lovely. So how we deliver value. Again, collaborating with partners worldwide. I've included a selection of examples of partners who we are working with internationally. We have some key projects with Health Varsity in Dubai, in which our learning content is hosted on their learning platform. And we've also worked on curriculum development services with them as well. Reform Academy, who have recently launched in Turkey, are offering around 20 of our qualifications and enrichment courses to students in Turkey to support student global mobility, really around employability and HE pathways. We've also worked with Papua New Guinea University on the cybersecurity project, which was very successful, and Language Works in Malaysia on leadership development programs as well. So how we deliver value is we're creating market-leading resources and EdTech solutions, working with partners to meet global, local and global skills priorities. Key themes across everything we are doing at the moment, we've seen a surge of interest in autism awareness, which is very prominent in Malaysia, Singapore and in the Middle East at the moment. So a number of projects that we are working on internationally are very focused on neurodiversity, autism awareness and mental health and well-being. And a lot of these businesses that we work with here are actually developing solutions to meet the demand and interest and need to create education solutions and build awareness around autism, neurodiversity and mental health, which has been a really interesting focus for us recently. And just moving on to that, we've touched on employability pathways, employment pathways, and a big focus in it's mainly been in Sri Lanka, India, recently has been pathways into healthcare. So we offer a range of qualifications that are higher level diplomas that can support entry into UK universities. These have proven very popular for students that may not have achieved what they needed to achieve at school to go down that academic route, but basically are committed, have experience already in the likes of nursing and health and social care, and want to go to that next level to either develop the skills to move into university or to enhance their existing careers in nursing and health and social care. Yeah, so here is a recent case study from the photographers detailing the day of the graduation, where we were fortunate enough to have 2 of the graduates and a representative from the Ministry of Education in Botswana to visit the Learning Curve Group head office in Durham. This was a hugely successful and rewarding project, delivering ILM Leadership and Management Level 3 to 13 female leaders in the TVET sector in Botswana. This was delivered purely virtually and via our LMS platform, so it took a high level of commitment for the participants to achieve what they achieved, which was absolutely brilliant. It was covering 12 units in leadership and management, and the impact that has had on Botswana and the sharing of best practice is being really measurable. We included key masterclasses from our female leadership team in the UK. Our leadership team happens to be predominantly female, and they delivered some fantastic insight sessions on leadership within the TVET and vocational training sector in the UK, which really supported that progression and achievement of the qualifications. So you'll see this case study is something that we're super proud of, and it does actually prove the concept around what we do, the agility of our learning solutions via our LMS platform, and a purely virtual programme where all students achieved. Okay, and here's another example we've touched on. We've touched on key areas around leadership, around digital, and cybersecurity has been a big focus and hugely popular, and is becoming more and more popular internationally. We offer a range of different qualifications in cybersecurity and data and digital, and feedback from one of our international students is that the cybersecurity course that they completed offers a really solid foundation in both theoretical concepts and practical skills, making it really suitable for beginners. And also it's a suitable program for people who may have worked within the digital space and want to qualify or upskill in certain areas. Okay, lovely. Well, thank you for that. I would like to thank you all for your time, and I hope I haven't overrun, Jonathan. I'm sure you would be telling me off if I have. So I've added my contact details there, and we will be sharing the presentation moving forward. Thank you.
Victoria, you were smack on time, so no problem at all.
Thank you.
It's really interesting, Victoria, how Learning Curve Group have diversified in the range of topics, but also bringing in technology. And I guess that's, a natural result of the evolution at the moment, around learning and skills training and things like that. But you're, still very focused on the technical skills, but also you've kind of dabbled now into this world of mental health and all the softer kind of things as well, which is really making a rounded package of skills and training that's available for everybody else. So it's really fantastic to see, and I love the fact that you're working so closely with employers and other UK organisations in an international market to help them expand their businesses as well. So really fantastic work, well done, and hat off to you and the team, because when we started a few years back doing this, it was quite a limited range, so you can I certainly can see the growth.
Thanks, Jonathan. Yeah, we've been creative and innovative, and a lot of support along the way, so thanks, Jonathan.
Pleasure. Good. Thank you so much indeed, Victoria Horrox from the Learning Curve Group. Next up is Debbie Johnson and Abby Stocker from Innovate UK. Good morning to you both. It looks like we're probably going to have Debbie on speaker maybe and Abigail on camera, because I think Debbie's having a bit of issue with Wi-Fi this morning. Maybe she's like me and the pigeons don't fly in the right direction,
I'm hopeful that am I back again?
I can hear you, yeah. There you are. Amazing. I can see you. There you are. Marvellous. I'll leave it to you now. We can see your presentation too, so good to go.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. It's great to be here. It's such an honour, and building on what's just been said about the benefit of innovative and collaborative approaches. Abby and I today will be talking about some work that Innovate UK has been taking forward to support the growth of innovation across learning and development programmes. And I'm hoping I can move my slides on. Sorry, bear with me. Perfect. So I'm Debbie Johnson. I'm Head of Innovation, Talent and Skills at Innovate UK. Innovate UK is the UK's innovation agency focused on generating improved and increased business innovation. And I'm supported today by Abby Stocker, who's led this work as lead specialist for innovation research. As the UK's innovation agency, we're part of UK Research and Innovation, which is a collective of research councils with Innovate UK focused on driving innovation and productivity, predominantly within the private sector. And our aspiration is to create an improved UK by supporting businesses in those life-changing innovations. But as we know, innovation has to be a team sport, and there's far more involved in it than just solely one organisation's efforts. So we've really been sort of considering recently, how do we make sure innovation can happen anywhere and everywhere? And it leads us to the question behind this work, which is, are innovators born or made? And this is really integral to sort of how do we support people to come through the education system, through career pathways, with the opportunity to realise the most entrepreneurial and innovative concepts and ideas to further our economy and society. And we consider that people have innovation potential, but there are barriers that prevent it being realised, and that those are a range of factors. But for Innovate UK, it's about how do we enable the factors that lead to increased innovation within our society. For Innovate UK, we recognise that a number of factors have to come in to that innovation and entrepreneurial spirit. So across Innovate UK, we recognise that there are a number of opportunities to improve the ecosystem. And one of these, as you'll see, is talent and skills. How do we enable people to come through our education system to make their contribution to our environment, to our society, and to our economy? Where we started in this journey was really thinking about what can we see already in our environment, and how can we improve that? So we know much of the evidence is telling us across economy, across sectors, that businesses are struggling to access the skills they need, particularly for innovative businesses. They're seeing that lack of skills as a major barrier to innovation. So for us, what that then meant was that we really needed to consider what we mean by that. What do we mean by innovation skills? How do we enable increased and improved innovation skills in people? And so we've worked with the Innovation and Research Caucus to develop an evidence-based framework to get to that area of clarification. And I will hand over to Abby now, who'll talk us through this work.
Thanks, Debbie, and good morning, everybody. So yes, as Debbie's mentioned, the output of the work with the Innovation Research Caucus was the first iteration of our innovation skills framework. So to develop this, the researchers began with a systematic review of both academic and grey literature to identify the activities, processes and tasks that make up innovation. So importantly, they didn't start with just brainstorming a load of skills. They actually started with observations about what people do and then worked backwards to identify the skills required to carry out those tasks. So this helped us to move away from a framework that was purely conceptual to something grounded in more observable reality. So one of the key components of the framework is the innovation skills wheel, which you can see on the slide now. And this is at the centre, you can see some thematic spokes. These are the high level groups of related skills that correspond to various activities. And then around the side, we have the individual skills that support each theme. So, for example, on the wheel, we have communication, which is part of the relational skills group. And this could be used to execute various tasks and activities, including vision socialization, concept development, and testing. So if you'd like to dig deeper into the details, we've got a QR code on the next slide that you can scan to see the full report. And this lists all of the skills and tasks identified, so you can see how they connect together. So a key takeaway from the first iteration of the framework is that innovation skills are learnable and teachable. They're not some kind of mystical talent that's reserved for a few or given to a few at birth. The evidence shows that these skills can be developed through training, practice, and the right organisational design. And I think this message has really resonated with stakeholders who we've been working with on this framework, and several have started to adopt the framework in a few really interesting and impactful ways. The first example is the Institute for Apprenticeships and Technical Education in the UK. They've used this framework to embed into their innovation strategy, which has helped them shape a national approach for all apprentices in the UK. And we've also got the Greater Manchester colleges who use the innovation skills framework to develop an innovation literacy training programme, which was co-authored by innovator Ben Edmonds. And this is a really great interactive course that's delivered across all 9 Greater Manchester colleges, and it aims to equip all apprentices as innovation ambassadors. So lots of different subjects and people with different specialisms, all learning these really core fundamental skills that will help them be more innovative throughout their careers. Next slide, please. So after launching this first version of the framework, and we launched about 2 years ago, I think now, we started hearing some interesting things in our conversations with stakeholders. So whenever we spoke to them about innovation skills and this framework, they often brought up commercialization and entrepreneurship skills too. So when we looked into this more closely, it made sense. There's a lot of overlap in the tasks and activities involved in all of these 3 things. So we asked the Innovation Research Caucus to expand the framework using the same method and same approach, so grounded in literature and then working backwards to identify the skills and then grouping them into these thematic groups. So the result is what you see here. We've got our updated skills wheel, which now covers innovation, commercialization, and entrepreneurship skills. This is an evolution of the first version. It's not a replacement, but it does really help us to avoid artificial silos by showing skills more in context and in relation to each other. One very important thing to note, though, is that the skills on the wheel are necessary, but they're not necessarily enough on their own. So they need to be combined with context-specific knowledge and the right attitudes and right resources to achieve real success. So we think of this, this framework and the wheel as a tool and a guide rather than the complete recipe that you need. Next slide, please. And here is a QR code so you can download the full report and take a look at that. And if we could move on to the next slide again, please, Debbie. So this next section is basically about how you can use this framework in practice. So it's out there, it's available for free for you to download and for you to use. And we have been exploring some various different ways that different organisations can apply to different areas within their businesses. So the first area is deploying skills. So this is about understanding how your existing people's skills line up with the tasks involved in innovation, commercialization, and entrepreneurship. Mapping these skills can help you see where the strengths are, where the gaps are, and whether there might need to be some reorganization of teams or redeployment or recruitment to get the best out of people and to get the skills in that you need. The second area is developing, developing skills. So this is really about using the framework to design or refresh training and curricula. So the Greater Manchester Innovation Literacy Programme I mentioned earlier is a really good example of this. They've mapped their module to this wheel so that apprentices are deliberately and intentionally building the skills that matter for innovation. So I think there's a lot that training providers and people who are involved in education could potentially do with this framework to try and embed it in some of their courses or indeed new courses. And then the third is sourcing skills. So this is very much about recruitment and selection. So if an organisation wants to do more innovation, are they actually attracting and selecting the right people? This framework can be used to guide job descriptions, person specifications, and even build activities or interview tasks so that you're evaluating not just existing skills, but also people's potential to develop them. So there's 3 very clear use cases. But that being said, we're in the early stages and we're very keen to hear if there are other areas where people are interested in applying this in their organisations. Next slide, please. So just a few more words on what you can do now and next steps. So as I mentioned, we are in the early stages of this framework being live and publicly available for everybody to use. And there's plenty of room for experimentation, and we're really keen to see that. So if we have piqued your interest, but you're wondering where to start, there's a few simple actions that you can take. The first is have a look at the full reports. So the QR codes that we've shared will take you straight to the reports, and they're full of diagrams and practical examples, so you can delve into them a bit further. You could try a quick mapping exercise of innovation skills across your team or a team that you work with. So using the framework to think about where you have a strong supply of certain skills that relate to tasks that you need to do and where there might be gaps. And then finally, if you design training or recruitment, you could think about how this could align, how you could align the framework to better develop or attract innovation skills. So we have designed this to be sector agnostic, so it is really applicable in a variety of organisations and different settings. We'd love to hear your feedback on any of this, so please do take a look at the reports as I've mentioned, and if you do try it, do let us know how you get on. Debbie and I are very happy to keep the conversation going, and our contact details are on the screen. And thank you all very much for your time.
Thank you so much indeed. What a great framework. I come from the private sector, and along with many of my colleagues, I think we'll all agree that to have innovation skills and entrepreneurship and commercialization is really, really important, not just to run a business but within a business, because you want people to be creative and innovative within their own role within a big organization or a small organization, right? So to a certain degree we are all out there to make our businesses smarter, quicker, leaner, as well as more creative, innovative, and all of those kind of great things. And you can be entrepreneurial within a business and help it grow, as well as for your own business. So I love this framework. What was interesting to me as well is that in your wheel, most of the skills, I think, from what I could see, in fact, if not all of them, are not technical skills. They're all kind of personal skills, human skills, soft skills, rather than hard technical skills, which is really interesting. So I'd love to see how people weave this into their technical skills programs, because to me this would seem like a key element that needs to be built, just like they're trying to build in green these days into everything. So this to me would be the same kind of flavor, if you like. So well done, great presentation. It'd be great actually if you could put your contact details in the chat and perhaps a link to that report so that people can download it from there as well. Thank you so much indeed, Debbie and Abby, for your presentation. Really great to have Innovate UK on board. Do stick around. We want you in the Q&A section at the end. Thank you so much. Moving on, we have Jane Rexworthy now from Skills for Health. Jane, good morning to you.
Good morning. Good morning and good afternoon to everyone. Delighted to be here today. I'm wearing 2 hats. I'm going to be presenting Skills for Health, who we are in the UK, but also our work internationally. And I'm also going to tell you a little bit about my role as the UK Skills Partnership Chair and how I think that this all connects together. So let me take you through just a few slides. So let me just move on. I'm checking. you can see these. So hopefully you'll let me know if you can't. But who are Skills for Health? Well, in the UK, over 20 years ago, a number of sector skills councils were formed. These were industry-led bodies brought together to drive the skills agenda, and they're built on the foundations of great workforce planning, labour market insight, so that we could then identify the skills, technical, non-technical skills that were required within the industries. We at Skills for Health have a really strong track record of working with the NHS organisations, the trusts that we have around the country, and also the wider system partners, to really navigate some of that complexity that we have in the healthcare system. And that's grown over the years. And I'm going to share a slide that details how complex it can be. So what's different, I think, around Skills for Health and the work that we do as a sector skills council is we listen to what industry is saying its challenges are, and then we work to develop solutions ourselves and also with other partners to develop the tools to help the industry move forward. One set of tools that I'm sharing on the screen is our credibility and capability frameworks that have been developed around certain core roles that we have. These are really pertinent, and you'll see that when we look at the global challenges in healthcare systems. One of the aspects of work that we have to navigate here in the UK, which helps us when we're working internationally, is we have 4 nations in the UK, and we have different rules, regulations and systems working, and we have to navigate that and work carefully with employers to ensure that we are meeting all of those requirements, bespoking and tailoring to meet those different needs. So one of the key aspects of Skills for Health, and this is what we do in the UK and internationally, is workforce planning. We work directly with industry, we work with healthcare experts and governments to provide a really clear view of what's happening in the workforce. How do we actually identify not only the skills that are needed now, the upskilling and reskilling that's required for everyone, but also to consider those future skills, what's happening in the workplace, certainly in healthcare, around AI and technology. So to do that, we have a 6-step methodology, and this 6-step methodology helps us to identify the challenges that we see in businesses, countries, nations, map the way that change can happen effectively with those partners, defining the required workforce and how that workforce is going to change in the coming years, and then to understand what we need to do to grow the number of individuals we need to fill those gaps and those changes as they occur, and also with an aging workforce to think about future proofing how we are growing people into the roles that we need in the healthcare service. Doing that, we develop a really comprehensive action plan that we then help the businesses to operationalise, and that's really important, along with the monitoring and revision of some of those action plans. As we've seen in the digital age, things change on a daily basis. We need to be very responsive to that. So as a result of that, we've worked very closely with many of the NHS trusts in the UK. We've worked with private industry in healthcare, and we work very much so with government and also other stakeholders and providers of services. So we're very much into collaboration and partnership. So what does that look like from a global perspective? How does our work help to support what's happening in the global workplace? So what are the occupations that are in key demand at the moment? Well, no surprises, there is a global challenge around nursing and midwifery. In the UK, we are providing our nurses with enough skills to be able to undertake advanced roles in nursing that bridge the gap between what our physicians, our doctors are undertaking as well. So building a very skilled workforce of nurses and midwives for the future. And that, as I say, is a global challenge that we're seeing in every country that we're working in. And I'm thinking particularly in Saudi, in the Stans, so in Pakistan, Uzbekistan, and other parts of the world, such as China, who have now an aging workforce. We also have physicians and medical specialists that are in demand, and again in very underserved regions such as sub-Saharan Africa. There are areas where we cannot get that expertise in effectively enough. To help that, we need allied health diagnostics and therapy experts. This is because of the new changes that we're seeing in AI, and the fact that we now can use different methods and ways for identifying different illnesses and to be able to respond in a very different process. Public and global health has grown since the pandemic, a huge need and requirement for people working in this area to support us if we were to see ourselves going into another pandemic. And certainly COVID has had a lasting impact on the world in looking at its healthcare services. Health services and administrative informatics, again, data is a really important aspect of the work that we do in the healthcare area. And of course, AI technicians, engineering support are really important. But with an ageing workforce around the world, supporting community primary care and support roles is another key aspect. And we know in China there's a real demand and desire to support its ageing population, to stay in their homes for longer. To do that, different aspects of technology are required. Maintenance and engineers around those are again another really important factor. And that we've seen, and I've talked about some of the trends and insights that we've seen there that are really creating the challenges. So let me move on to what do we do about that, and what are we doing from UK Skills for Health. So we work in collaboration with a number of education and specialist providers of services to be able to create a comprehensive partnership approach to the way that we work. So rather than going into a country and just showing the work that we can do at Skills for Health, which is very much the foundational work, the labour market intelligence, the workforce planning, but to work with the other partners that can provide those services, those learning programmes, curriculum, best practice setup of colleges and universities, and to be able to bring in the awarding organisations, the certification bodies alongside that. So really importantly, bringing together those partnerships is a really important aspect. So I'm going to share a case study with you of the work that we've been doing in Uzbekistan over the last couple of years. To do that, our first port of call was to work with our Department for Business and Trade to identify individuals responsible for the healthcare services and to come together to identify partners that could support the aspect of work that we had been presented with from our Uzbek partners. Our Uzbek partners, private company with private hospitals looking to set up brand new nursing college university to expand that into other medical disciplines in the future. It sounds like, we could just hand that over to universities, but there were a number of key problems. One was around language, making sure that the people that were going to be migrating had the relevant level of English language, either to come to the UK or to go into the Middle East where English is used as a medical language. And then to consider the types of models that we might need. So working with our university partners, we were able to identify the different aspects of partnership that could take place, and we were able to shape that together. One of the other aspects was making sure that we had strong support from the Uzbek government. And so meeting with the migratory agencies, the Ministry of Health, meeting with other partners such as the Ministry of Higher Education and Skills, really crucial to making sure that there was complete buy-in for our approach. So you can see it's all about partnership, all about collaboration. And the aim, the ultimate aim, is to not only to provide a migratory workforce across the world in nursing to start with and then other medical professions, but also to strengthen and internationalise the domestic healthcare that was being offered. And so really important to up the levels as we progress with the project. So why is that important? Well, for Uzbekistan, quite clearly, it's about addressing the global nursing shortages with a very high youth population, important to upskill their own workforce, and to really build the level of expertise that they have in healthcare in their education system. For us from the UK, we like to be able to strengthen those relationships between countries. That helps for much better migratory opportunities and ethical workforce pathways. But it also helps to understand different health requirements and needs from a research perspective across the world, bringing us closer with different research departments, as a new research department will be developed in this new university. And then for the client itself, it's an anchor flagship institution. It provides upskilling for its existing hospital network, and it builds that sustainability and professional pipeline. So you can see there are huge benefits for us working in collaboration with partners to provide this service and to sustain that relationship in country. So we had a great visit when we went out in May. We took our partners. You might recognise some faces in the room there. We had a number of universities, 4 different universities, 2 different English language providers, 1 migratory agency to support transition in medical healthcare, and importantly, our connection and work alongside the Department for Business and Trade, the Nursing Midwifery Council and the General Medical Council as well. So what's the outcome? And this is just to show our process. How do we actually work? So what we've proposed is 4 different steps, one around institutional setup and partnerships. So we have a number of experts, specialists in this field, that are going to support the University College in opening its doors. We then have our experts around programme design and infrastructure, and then, of course, the capacity building and the recruitment. So the first step, and I'm not going to go through every single step, but the first step is the business case. One of our universities, the University of the West of England, is going to undertake this work on behalf of the organisations to demonstrate the model, the financial model that the University College will work with. When we come to the workforce planning stage, we will undertake that from Skills for Health. That will inform the curriculum development that will be undertaken by the universities and the language skills that are going to be required to upskill the existing workforce and, of course, the nurses that are going to come onto programme. In terms of capacity building, our universities are going to be offering a number of spots and places for our experts to come to. And apologies, Jonathan, I know I'm running over time. Last slide. We're going to be looking at finally making sure that we have English readiness and entry assessments, top-ups for nurses that are already trained, and then clinical placements. That will ensure that when nurses apply to come to the UK, they will be able to undertake the OSCE examinations that we expect here in the UK, that are our regulatory systems, to ensure successful migratory opportunities. So thank you for listening. I just wanted to showcase, and then finally to say, go on to the UK Skills Partnership website, find out how you can engage with our incredible members to identify how we can help you pull a partnership together to answer your requests and requirements across the world. Thank you very much.
Jane, thank you. What I love about that presentation, you kind of walk everybody through the actual process, which I think is really important, because people always think, you know, how do I engage? What does that look like? What does the process look like? You know, what are you trying to achieve in terms of the short, medium and long-term aims? And I think you've really set that out very clearly. What I also love is the collaborative nature, right? So most of the projects that we deal with overseas involve more than one partner, or should involve more than one partner. And as you know, my mantra, and I think it's the same as yours, if everyone, you know, works together and brings along their A+ game, rather than everything that they do, because, you know, everyone has a mediocre offer as well as a brilliant offer. So if you take the brilliant things out of every organisation and add that to the next organisation, you end up with a super duper brilliant organisation working overseas delivering on the aims and ambitions of your particular client. So, and I think your project really demonstrates that through healthcare. So really well done, and thank you for sharing that.
Thank you very much.
Do loiter though, Jane. We'll have some questions for you a bit later. Now we're moving on to David Sales, and David is from the First and Second group. So David, over to you. We can see your presentation.
Thanks, Jonathan,
and we can hear you.
Good. Hi, everyone. Pleasure to be with you this morning. And thanks to Jane for doing a fantastic scene set on some of the challenges that exist in the kind of health sector globally. I'm going to talk to you in this session about the key behavioural skills, developing the key behavioural skills for the kind of future workforce, the future of work in the health sector globally. I'm David Sales, one of the directors at First Ascent Group. We're a UK-based, Cambridge-based private company in the training arena, working with clients globally. Our clients are both sort of public sector and private sector alike, and we work across all sectors, although this morning I'm going to talk specifically about the health sector. And I guess what we're known for is our ability to kind of develop very bespoke programs for each client, to be rapidly scalable in our programs and to be very agile as well. So I guess a good point to start is, what do we mean by the health sector? What kind of organisations are we finding ourselves working with? Where are we seeing demand for our services around developing behavioural skills? Well, there's 4 key areas that we see. Perhaps the most obvious are hospitals and local surgeries that are part of the local health delivery ecosystem. So we work with those organisations a lot. Pharmaceutical companies, both big and small, call on us to support them in behavioural skills development. But also we work, and this links nicely to what Debbie and Abigail were talking about, health-focused startups, but also innovation skills within big organisations. So startups, entrepreneurs, but innovation skills in big organisations. And also we include sport within the health sector. Not everyone would, but certainly in the UK, sport is seen as one of the kind of driving forces to long-term health within the population. So these are the 4 areas that we tend to work with. It's interesting, the World Economic Forum, when they are looking at what are the future skills needed within organisations going forward, these are the top 10 for 2027. I'm sure some of you will have seen these before, but what's interesting is a significant proportion of these are what we might classify as behavioural skills. So sort of cognitive skills, working with others, self-efficacy, all of these fall under the banner of kind of behavioural skills and the kind of work that we provide to clients. I'm going to give you some kind of basic principles of how we think about developing successful programs with our clients, and then I'll give you 4 case studies just to bring that to life. So really importantly, a lot of training goes on around the world without its true impact being measured. So we are very focused right at the beginning on being clear on what the outcomes are, what the impact is that we're trying to deliver with our clients for programs. And a useful framework, if you haven't come across it, certainly I would encourage you to look this up, is the Kirkpatrick framework. It's a very simple framework that can be used to measure different levels of impact for training and development programs, and the kind of science and the rigor behind this appeals very much to health sector organisations. And ultimately what we're all trying to do is deliver at level 4, which is true impact within the organisation or within the society that the training is supporting. And of course you need clear reporting as well behind that impact evaluation. So that's a really important principle for us as well, particularly in health, but it's true in other sectors as well. Really critical to take research-based approaches to both the content that we are delivering to our clients, but also in the way that we are delivering it. So we always use science-based tools such as psychometrics. Epigenetics is the latest generation psychometric tool. It's moved on a lot from some of the more traditional tools that are out of date. And we use very evidenced case studies that are contextually specific to each client when we're designing and delivering programs. Of course, we use qualified trainers coaches and facilitators. And our training methodology uses the most up-to-date brain science to ensure that the learning is impactful and that it is retained. And if you haven't come across this model, the AGES model is a useful one to think about as we design learning and development programs. It talks about attention is critical. This is particularly imperative for online training, where the concentration span for human beings is increasingly small. So how do we make sure that we keep the attention of our training participants in the session? Emotions govern learning. So if we can make emotional connections, people are more likely to take the learning on board. And accept that generating insight, ensuring that people apply their learning, it takes time. So learning is a journey. It's not a one-off experience in one session. And spaced learning definitely works. So multiple reinforcement of key learning messages is absolutely critical over a period of time. And this is a really well-researched brain science-based methodology for designing learning. So let's look at 4 case study areas, and I picked one for each of 4 areas where we are seeing a lot of demand globally at the moment. And the first is in collaboration skills. So when we're talking about collaboration skills, this is how people work with other people, either in their organization or with people that are part of their wider system outside of their organization. And one of the key things in collaboration skills is helping people recognize the diversity and the individual needs of the people that they are colleagues with or are collaborating with. So individualization of our communications and our influencing techniques is really important when we're trying to improve collaboration. And social neuroscience research is really hot stuff at the moment, and it's really giving us great insight on how individuals need to think about themselves and their relationships with the colleagues that they may be working with in their organisation or their system. So we bring this into the programmes in a very accessible way. And talking about accessibility, obviously we need to make sure that the tools, techniques, and examples that we're using are easy for people to access in both a practical sense, but they're easy to remember as well. We can get very technical very easily because we get very excited about what we're doing. So we have to avoid doing that and make sure that the way we present what people are learning is easy for them to remember and to apply. A really obvious area, but it's not always focused on in terms of collaboration skills, is helping people develop their presence, their body language, how they're putting their words across, and to help them think about the real intent with which they are trying to collaborate. And this applies when people are working online or in person with colleagues that they're trying to collaborate with. And in this area, in collaboration, building people's confidence to try different techniques is as important as training them in the techniques themselves. So collaboration skills are critical skill for many organizations. An example of where we are doing a lot of work in this space is a pharmaceutical company, AstraZeneca. I'm sure most people will know AstraZeneca, global company, UK based, and we've been supporting them on a wide front across the organization in both the UK, the US, Sweden, and globally, in collaboration skills and influencing skills, and actually building resilience skills in the organization. We've worked with their apprentices all the way through to senior leaders. And in this space, it's really rewarding to get the kind of feedback that we regularly get. The people are feeling more confident in communicating and putting themselves forward, and often very technical people in technical roles benefit most from this kind of support. And for people to come away from training in a topic that can be quite scary and quite personal for a lot of people, to feel it was amazing, it was outstanding, this is the kind of feedback that we're looking for from the participants. The second area I'd like to just talk about is leadership skills. This is a huge area of demand for us. one of the key areas that our client organizations are asking us to support them in at the moment is systems leadership. So not just support leading my own team or even within my own organization, but how can I as a leader drive forward the system in which I'm operating? And this also covers influencing skills at a very sophisticated level for leaders and collaboration skills at an organization level as well. Many leaders need support in terms of developing their resilience as well, both personally, but how do they build resilience in their organization? And no surprise here, this links back to what Debbie and Abigail were talking about, and Jane to a degree as well, how to, not the technical aspects of AI, but how as a leader to utilize AI strategically in my organization. It's a topic that I think every leader now knows they need to think about, but often feel to have that strategic consideration. So we support them in that area as well. And a case study here that hopefully brings this to life for you. This is from the UK NHS. We ran a systems leadership program for the North Central London integrated care system. So this is a health ecosystem in London, which includes hospitals, local authorities, and multiple other partners to deliver health services to the local population. So it was a bespoke systems leadership program designed entirely in the context of the health system. The content was very NHS specific, and we had to, in terms of the logistics of the program, focus on operational accessibility, because particularly nurses, doctors and frontline staff cannot just take time out in the same way that people in other services and other professions can. So it had to be very flexible from an operational point of view to support attendance. And we were delighted to see that every single person who came on the programme has applied the learning when we did the Kirkpatrick evaluation. And 96% of them are now more confident to lead the system in which they operate. And this was the key objective for this programme. The third area that is in big demand at the moment globally is change management. All of us that have worked or are working in big organisations particularly know that 70% of change fails, and there's plenty of research on this from the academics. Great intent for change programs, but most of them fail, and most of them fail because of the human behavioural skills around managing and leading the change itself. And this is an issue in the public and private sectors alike across the world. So again, we bring in the brain science of change into these programs to help people understand why change fails. What is the human side of that? And in health, of course, there are huge changes being implemented in all systems globally at the moment, driven by technology and by the social pressures that we've already heard about earlier. And change management is a combination of behavioural skills training, but also process support. And what we're ultimately aiming to do here is create change confident organisations, which will only happen if we have change confident people working within them. An example here I've drawn from sport. British Triathlon is a governing body in the UK, sport governing body, and we've worked with them for a long while now. This is a long-term engagement of support that we've provided to this organisation. A few years ago, they had a new board and executive team. To be frank, the organisation was in trouble. Before that, they put on a whole new board and executive team, and we supported that board and executive team to kind of get established quickly and start thinking about how they were going to drive the changes that they needed to drive in the organisation. So our support was a combination of facilitation, training and consultancy, and as a result, not just down to us, but partly as from our contribution, they were voted the best UK governing body for 3 years, and they won the first ever Olympic medals in triathlon for GB a couple of years after we started working with them. The fourth area is innovation skills, and in this area, this links to what Debbie and Abigail were saying. We work with startup, scale up and entrepreneurs and also intrapreneurs within all bigger organizations to support them in the skills that were part of that iSkills framework that we saw earlier. And we provide mentoring, coaching and training to those entrepreneurs and intrapreneurs. We also partner with St John's Innovation Centre in Cambridge to support the development of local innovation ecosystems globally. So our clients here are often governments or local partner organisations, and we bring the knowledge from the Cambridge ecosystem into around the world to benefit from that. A good example, a good case study here is the Royal Academy of Engineering, where we've partnered with St John's in Cambridge, and we've supported 50 entrepreneurs from around the world to develop their health-focused, often health-focused innovations, providing mentoring, coaching and training. And within 6 months, we saw an 18 times return on investment from the programme investment and new funding being raised. So hopefully this has been interesting for you. If you'd like to have a follow-up conversation, I'd be delighted to do that. Here are my contact details, and the QR code there will take you straight to my LinkedIn profile, but I'd be delighted to hear from you if we can be of any help or of interest for further discussion. Thank you.
David, thank you so much indeed, David. A very broad presentation, but actually still focused on those human skills, which are really so important, looking at all levels within an organisation, but particularly at the leadership and governance end of organisations. And I guess the same applies to leadership and governance within education establishments and all types, regardless of sector. So you can easily see how all of what you just talked about is deployable in an international setting, and really great to have you on board setting that out. I think this is your first occasion on SkillsFest, so even better because we get to know you a bit more as well and your organisation. So thanks very much indeed. Do stay around. We will have questions for you.
Thanks, Jonathan.
Take care. Thanks. Next up is Stuart Liversedge. Stuart is from Transcend Awards. So good morning to you, Stuart.
Good morning, Jonathan, and good morning to everybody. Thank you for joining us this morning. Some fantastic presentations so far, so I'll certainly do my best to follow that. Jonathan, please do keep me on time. I've got a bit of a history of either going radically over or radically under on presentations, so I hope that you do enjoy the content within. So like I say, thank you to UK Skills Partnership and DBT for inviting Transcend Awards onto this presentation this morning. I'm going to take you on a short journey of who Transcend Awards are and what we kind of cover in the international market for you as well. As Jonathan mentioned, there's a Q&A at the end, so please do save any questions and please do feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn as well. So a little bit about me. My name is Stuart and I am the Head of Business Development for Transcend Awards. I am a vocational training advocate and I've spent 24 years in the health and fitness sector here in the UK before moving into education. A lot of my experience and skills has been generated through vocational training as I've kind of moved up the career ladder, and I've been lucky enough to recently experience some international experience with Department for Business and Trade, working in areas such as Saudi Arabia, UAE, Vietnam and also Singapore. So I'm going to take you on a short Transcend Awards journey. Transcend Awards is a certification body based here in the UK. We are 8 years old and we have been functioning across the primary sectors of health, fitness, leisure and wellbeing and sports coaching and leadership. Alongside that, we cover some slightly random more topics, including safety and security. We work with military personnel and we've recently just released a fantastic alternative education pathway that schools and colleges can take advantage of. We're proud to be Ofqual regulated here in the UK, which means that we adhere to all the strict rules and regulations regarding certification of qualifications, and we endeavour to map all of our qualifications to recognised standards and professional bodies through working with sector bodies as well. So in terms of working with Transcend Awards, what we are bringing to the market is a plethora of offerings, really. We work closely with all of our providers to offer the best support that we can, sometimes unquantifiable support in terms of the experience and knowledge that we're gathering from international markets and from domestic intel as well. We've developed over 90 plus regulated qualifications here in the UK, and we are deeply committed to the UN sustainability goals, and that runs through all of our kind of qualification offerings, and that's also mapped to the EFQM framework as well. With our partners, we work very closely either as training provider partners who deliver our qualifications or development partners in terms of looking at solutions for problems, issues, queries and skill gaps that people are seeing in the sectors that they function in and where a qualification or vocational qualification may work. We also work with endorsement of non-regulated training for where the market might move too quickly or perhaps a regulated qualification is a little bit too much. At the moment, we're working internationally throughout Europe and the Middle East, and we are excited about expanding our reach over the coming years as well. In terms of our mission, vision and values and why you should get involved with us, obviously they're not just words on a page somewhere. It's words that we bring to life every day in what we do. Transcend Award is deeply committed to empowering individuals and organisations worldwide, and we're looking to provide internationally recognised high quality qualifications and education solutions. Our mission is quite simple, is to create highly skilled professionals who inspire positive change, contributing to a healthier, more active, sustainable community around the globe. We work with sector skills councils and professional bodies to address and understand skills gaps. We're driven to improve education quality and professionalising the sectors that we cover. And we're founded with a clear belief that awarding and recognising certification credibility should have a soul, and our partnerships are absolutely key to that. We exist primarily to reduce education inequality and give every person the chance to turn their dreams into reality. The impact that education can have globally is something that we are deeply committed to, and like I say, we carry that message through to all of our partners and everything that we do. So what we know, as many of my colleagues have mentioned this morning, we know that the Organisation for Economic Cooperation and Development has warned in its 2025 outlook that skills mismatches are now one of the greatest threats to employability worldwide. This sets the context for why our work is so urgent and important, and why the solutions we bring are globally relevant. At the same time, too many learners are finding that they're disengaged from traditional education with limited pathways into work, and that challenge reduces both personal opportunity and national workforce capacity. Yesterday, I was at the SIMSPA conference in the UK. SIMSPA is the chartered body for the health and fitness sector. And we were listening to a study where there are 1 million young people who fall in the not in education or employment or training category. So it's a huge challenge, obviously, in the UK and globally to engage students into potential routes into workforce. And again, through the qualifications and schemes that we offer and the suites of qualifications that we can put together, people can find their way, students can find their way into work and then follow a career path as they move up the value chain as well. We've also found that employers and governments alike are demanding scalable, trusted solutions to close these gaps. And that's why goal number 4, quality education and partnerships for good, are obviously playing key strengths in our strategy internationally. So we know that the UK Skills is an attractive proposition, as all of my colleagues have got tremendous offerings around the world, and Transcend Awards is no different. We know that the UK vocational training is globally respected, and as an Ofqual regulated award organisation, as I mentioned, Transcend carries that credibility globally as well. What makes Transcend slightly different to some other of our colleagues around the UK is that we are, or try to be, extremely adaptable when looking at solutions. Our qualifications are designed not to just be one size fits all, and we work with our training provider partners and the employers that they're working with to find most appropriate solutions to their problems. Our qualifications are co-development with governments, providers and employers, and that helps us to continue to meet local workforce needs. This approach is proven. We've already delivering across the Middle East and Europe and working alongside our partners who trust us to provide that scalable, sustainable solution. It is a real example of Goal 17, Partnerships for the Goals in Use. So it's extremely pressing that Transcend can obviously continue our work with the goals throughout all of our partners. We are actively seeking new training provider partners and colleagues around the world who share that sentiment and commitment to the future. So, as I say, we want to continue to leverage our UK's long-standing reputation for excellence in education. We want to be able to meet both local and global standards, and through working with in-country experts, that will allow us to design qualifications that fit that need. We can help international centres and learners stand out in a competitive market with globally recognised qualifications that can easily be transferred across borders. Through doing that, we can help to raise education standards internationally, and we can ensure that skilled professionals contribute to public health and economic improvements whilst working up the value chain. So it's very easy to work with Transcend. You can become an approved Transcend education centre, and that tends to be schools, colleges or private training organisations. You can become a partner in terms of qualification development, and we can utilise your skills, knowledge and experience and turn that into a vocational qualification to fit the need. And obviously you are welcome to inquire about registering students onto one of our courses, and you can do that through our trusted training providers as well. All of the Transcend suite of qualifications is designed to allow work readiness for that student when they come through qualification. We want it through engagement with our key stakeholders, from the whole ecosystem. We want to better understand how the students enter the learning journey, and then following on from that, how they then enter the workforce. And then the final stage is how we can keep them coming back around into that learning journey to continue to develop their skills as they mature in sector. So one of our key strengths as a value proposition at Transcend Awards is around our flexibility, and that we empower our centres to adapt their delivery model to their local workforce priorities. That allows us to create scalable and sustainable solutions that are fit for purpose and are also relevant to the challenges that are faced daily. We're proud to use a co-development approach, and that we don't just export qualifications. We design them in partnership with governments, providers and employers, and we want to ensure that relevance, trust and impact are carried out throughout development and delivery of those qualifications as well. Together, these two pillars mean that we can deliver education solutions that are not only UK quality, but also locally owned and globally aligned. Just frozen, move on. So why work with Transcend? As I've mentioned, there's already plenty of reasons why you can probably pick out from what I've said so far. A copy of the presentation will be sent out, so please do look at this slide later on. But for me, there are definitely three big reasons why organisations choose to partner with us. The first being that we combine UK credibility with global adaptability, and as an Ofqual regulated certification body, we bring trusted quality to the market and we can adapt to your needs. Secondly, our model is innovative and collaborative, and we co-design our qualifications with relevant stakeholders to ensure that they are inclusive, sustainable and aligned to the real workforce priorities. And thirdly, we deliver with and through our experts. We're working alongside technical specialists and industry leaders. We create qualifications and solutions that are grounded in practice and not just theory. As I mentioned, this is reinforced by the EFQM model, which keeps us resilient, quality driven and always improving. Put simply, we're agile, people-centered and focused on building partnerships that deliver real-world impact. So as a quick case study, so we are currently working with a training employer provider partner. That's a bit of everything with this one. They're based out in Switzerland at the moment, and we help them to create a bespoke qualification that addressed a lot of the technical leadership gaps that they were seeing throughout the organisation. This organisation works in the sporting sector, and again, through this technical qualification, we've been able to deliver change that floods right the way through down to grassroots level, and therefore we know that the social impact that this education is having is huge. The leadership and the technical leadership that the qualification was designed to deliver has been extremely well received. We've had a very high number of students going through this organisation, and this is a global organisation as well, not just based in Switzerland. They actually deliver this programme internationally. So it's been a very successful program that we've run through that one. Second example, although on home soil, is our work that we've done with the British Training Board, working with the British military as well. So this piece of work was around creating a skills translation pathway. So in particular, where military staff from the British Army were looking to move into civilian lifestyle, they needed a way to be able to translate all of that knowledge, skills and experience from some of the best training that they'd had within the British forces, and be able to map that against vocational qualifications and a framework that was recognised externally to the military. So through doing this work with the British Training Board, we've been able to deliver over 120 certificates so far. We've supported the military with moving their workforce and team into the civilian lifestyle, and then continued to be able to support them through contact methods as they develop in that career. It's about the agility and the diversity and mapping the qualifications and the experience that the military offers. And as I mentioned, we know that that's some of the best training globally. So we can't just simply discredit that when a student leaves the forces. So it's been able to expose us to niche frameworks and qualification development that gives a real world solution. And again, on both case studies, quite happy to provide further details where I can for you following on from today's presentation. So please do reach out. So as I'm closing reasonably on time, I think, Jonathan, this is a little bit of a welcome call to invite you to join us. Transcend Awards is a little bit younger in terms of our international market than some of my colleagues on the call today, but that doesn't mean that we're going to have less of an impact. We are deeply aligned with the UN sustainability goals, as I've mentioned, and if that runs through your organisation and your mission, vision and values, then please do reach out so that we can discuss how we can support you in your challenges. We want to work with partners globally. We want to deliver the highest standards of TVET education where we can, and we want to consult with you to ensure that the learner journey is completely experienced as well. We'll happily provide you with training providers if you aren't one. We'll happily work with you to upskill if you want to be one, and we will happily support and guide your vision for education and bring that to life for you. So as I leave that thought about the impact that we can have together on the global population, I invite you to connect with me. My contact details are on screen there for you. Thank you very much, Jonathan. Thank you everybody for listening, and I look forward to speaking to you all soon.
Stuart, thank you very much indeed. Being a regulated awarding organisation, there's always so much more than just qualifications hiding inside. So really great that you're able to come along and talk about that. And I quite agree, actually. You know, sometimes young is beautiful, right? So you're, and I'm not talking about you because, you know, you're aging. But you know, it's really about being agile as an organisation and being able to be flexible in your approach, and you know, bring together the best of academia and employer relationships to build what they want to deliver on demand, which is fantastic. So thank you for sharing all of that with us, Stuart, again today. This is your second journey this week with us. As always, really grateful. Thank you. Moving on, we've got Risr next, and it's Chapman, and I think, Tad, you're doing a presentation on your own, so off you go. Thank you.
Thanks, Jonathan. Thanks very much, and thanks to all the speakers so far. Some really interesting stuff, and of course, particularly to Stuart, who's a former colleague. Actually, great to see you. Great to see you there. So thanks everybody for joining. I'm going to talk you through a few bits and bobs to do with Risr. It's pronounced Risr. Don't worry, Jonathan, you're not the first person, nor will you be the last to mispronounce. That's not an issue. So I'm going to talk you through today an innovation that we've been working on. And my colleague Tim Goalen, he is on the call. He's going to be joining the presentation in recorded format. So we've got some video examples to show you. But Tim is around to answer any questions that come up in the Q&A a little bit later. As one of the designers of this innovation, I think it's important to have him there as well. A little bit of background. Oh, there's Tim popped up on your screen, hopefully. A little bit of background on myself. I'm 14 years in the skills world, working with training providers, worked for a sector skills council, more recently in the awarding side of things, and now in education and technology, specifically in the assessment realm, really. But who are Risr? So Risr, we're an EdTech organisation. We were established in the year 2000, so it's our 25th anniversary this year. Our origins were in website creation and management within sort of medical and healthcare, and pivoted to sort of assessment technology around about 15 years ago. We've got a significant footprint in the medical market. We reckon about 60% of trainee doctors in the UK will use our solutions, but we work with partners around the world, and we have offices here in the UK, in North America, in Australasia, but then we also have customers across the globe as well. And about 2 or 3 years ago, we also started to work in vocational education. What is Risr? Risr is essentially a platform for exam delivery. In essence, you can see that it has 3 key components on screen. I'll leave you to read that in your own time. Risr Assess, Risr Apply, and Risr Advance, all doing sort of different parts of delivering assessments. And within vocational education as well, we've also partnered with an organisation called SkillTech Solutions, who have a product called EPA Pro Assess, where we've inserted or integrated our assessment technology into there as well. But I'm here today to talk to you about a new innovation, and this innovation comes under the banner, which is very new as a brand. This is Risr One, and AI Clinical Coach, which I'm going to talk to you about today, is the specific and first product which falls underneath this particular banner. So, what is Clinical Coach? Well, AI Clinical Coach is designed as a learning and assessment tool for trainee doctors, trainee medical professionals, but its use or its potential use cases are far broader than that, which hopefully you'll see in just a moment. So it's real-time AI coaching, in this instance for doctors. The example we're going to show you for doctors, it allows them to practice with an AI patient, get feedback, and then be coached upon that feedback as well. So just to dive into those kind of 3 key components. So the first up, you have a simulated patient, which is an AI patient, which a human trainee will have an interaction with. Then you'll deal with the AI assessor, which is presenting written feedback, and then the final and arguably most powerful part of the technology is the AI clinical coach, which allows the trainee to interact with an AI based on the feedback that has been produced. And we're going to have a look at those components in just a moment. Now, all of this is underpinned by real-life case studies which have been designed by medical experts, world-renowned medical experts, and or experts from the institution who is offering this technology. So if it was a university, it might well be that they have a highly competent, highly experienced clinical expert who can design these cases to insert into the system. So let's take a bit of a look at what it actually plays out and looks like. So we're going to go through each step one by one, and going to show you some examples, some video examples, which Tim has kindly recorded for us in advance. So we're going to start with the AI simulated patient. So what is the AI simulated patient? The simulated patient is a role player presenting as a patient in a doctor-patient consultation on a specific medical case, which has been uploaded into the system and then selected by the individual who's undertaking the training exercise. It's an oral interaction for them to be able to practice clinical reasoning, diagnostic, and communication skills, and we're really excited by it. So now I'm going to flick on to our first video. If there's any audio issues with this, you can't hear this, let me know. I do have a bit of a fallback plan. Hopefully you can hear it. Now, what you're going to see is a condensed version of an interaction. This would normally take about sort of 10 minutes, but I've sort of cut it down and chopped it up so you can see it, so it doesn't sort of take over the whole session. So I'm going to press play, and it's over to Tim for the consultation.
Welcome to Risr Clinical Coach. So I'll take you through doing a consultation.
Hello, Doctor.
Hi, Jane. My name's Tim. I'm a medical student on the emergency department. Before we start, can I just confirm your name and age, please?
Yes, of course. My name is Jane Smith and I'm 42 years old.
Great. So today I'd like to ask you some questions about the symptoms you've been experiencing and to see how we can help you with that. Does that sound okay?
Yes, that's fine. Thank you.
All right. And thanks, Jane. Can you tell me about the symptoms you've been having recently?
Sure. For the past few weeks, I've been feeling my heart beating much faster and harder than usual. It started when I was rushing to catch the train to work, and my heart just started racing out of nowhere. It felt irregular and I got a bit lightheaded, but I didn't faint or anything. Since then, I've had similar episodes almost every day, even with just a bit of exertion.
Okay. Have you taken any medication to try and help with it?
No, I haven't taken anything for it. I only take multivitamins in the morning.
Have you ever experienced something like this before?
No, this is the first time I've had anything like this. I've never had my heart race like this before.
Okay. How about weight changes? Have you noticed losing or gaining weight?
Yes, I have actually lost some weight, about 5 kilograms since all this started.
Okay, 5 kilograms in 3 weeks is quite a lot. Was it worrying?
Yes, it has been a bit worrying. To be honest, I wasn't trying to lose weight, and it just sort of happened along with everything else.
Okay, and is there anything else about your health you think might be relevant?
Well, I've been finding it harder to sleep at night because I'm anxious about my heart. I also feel hotter than usual and need to keep the air conditioning quite low to feel comfortable.
Okay, so you have experienced anxiety and a kind of heat sensitivity.
Yes, exactly. I feel quite restless at night and the house feels warmer than it used to, even though my family says it's fine. I need the aircon colder just to feel comfortable enough to sleep.
Okay, well, let's try and plan some tests and then we can take management steps after that. So for some tests, we'll run some blood tests, including a complete blood count to rule out conditions like anemia. We can also run hormone checks to look at your thyroid function, which can cause cause symptoms like yours. We can also perform an ECG to evaluate your heart rhythm. And if needed, you can wear something called a Holter monitor, which you wear for 24 hours and it records your heart activity over that period. Does that sound good?
Yes, that's fine with me. I appreciate you explaining everything. I just want to get to the bottom of it and feel better.
Perfect. Let's speak soon.
Thank you very much. I'll see you soon.
Fantastic. Thank you, Tim. I should point out Tim is not a trained medical professional, but he plays the part pretty well. Anyway, let's move on to the next part, which is the AI assessor. This is the thing that is providing feedback against that consultation that you've just seen. So prior to building the case, actually what is uploaded into the system is some predefined rubrics, assessment rubrics for the AI assessor to consider. So what they'll do is they'll consider the consultation that they've just seen or heard, and they'll compare it to that predefined rubric and deliver written feedback based on that consultation. That happens pretty quickly, actually, usually within about 30 seconds. So I'm going to hand back to Tim, and he's going to talk you through the written feedback that was generated off the back of this consultation.
So I'm going to go to the feedback stage now. It takes about 25 seconds to generate the written feedback. I can see how I've done, where I can improve, and then ask the clinical coach to talk through some of the areas that I wasn't so good on. Okay, approach to patient, outstanding. So this is the kind of introductory section. Confirmed their identity, name and age checks. Obtained explicit consent to proceed, and so that was all done well. History taking acceptable. So I got the key features of the palpitations. We talked about past medical history, weight loss, heat intolerance, sleep disturbance, anxiety and tremor. I didn't ask about bowel habit changes or eye symptoms. Or family history of thyroid or smoking, alcohol. So I missed some of the history taking. I could have been more thorough. Yeah, so include diarrhea, questions about diarrhea, bowel frequency, etc. Family history, lifestyle factors. Okay, so I'll know what to do better next time. Communication was good. Presentation of findings good. Differential diagnosis very poor. Okay, so it seems like I didn't give a explicit enough differential diagnoses list. So maybe this is what I can talk to the coach about.
Lovely, thanks again, Tim. So then we move on to the final and arguably the most powerful part of this technology, which is the AI Clinical Coach, the thing which is giving it its name. So what is AI Clinical Coach? Ultimately, it's an immersive tutoring agent which is going to provide one-to-one feedback, coaching based on that feedback that has just been generated. So from the learner's perspective, it's a chance to refine and consolidate their understanding in the same way that you would do with a human tutor, but with one that has been pre-fed information as an AI. So for the final time, we're going to go back to Tim, and he's going to interact with the clinical coach.
Congratulations on completing your consultation. How can I help you better understand the feedback you received?
In the differential diagnosis section, I got a very poor rating, and I was wondering how I could present a list of differential diagnoses in this case and how I should go about speaking to a patient and trying to communicate that to a patient.
Great question. In this scenario, the feedback pointed out that you didn't share possible causes for Jane's symptoms with her, which is important for transparency and helps her understand why you're ordering certain tests. Here's how you can approach this with a patient. After summarizing the main symptoms, you could say something like, Jane, based on what you've told me, your palpitations, weight loss, heat intolerance, and tremor. There are a few possible explanations we need to consider. The most likely cause is an overactive thyroid, which can make your heart race and cause these other symptoms. Sometimes, palpitations can also be due to a problem with the heart's rhythm itself, or even related to anxiety or stress. There are some rarer causes, like certain hormone-producing growths, but those are less common. The tests I mentioned will help us figure out which of these is affecting you. This approach does a few things. It shows you're thinking broadly, it reassures the patient you're being thorough, and it helps her understand the purpose of the investigations. Would you like more tips on how to structure and communicate differentials to patients?
So it seems like I listed the tests I was going to do, but didn't explicitly link them to the differentials to make the patient understand why I was booking the tests.
Exactly, that's right. You suggested the right tests, but you didn't explain to Jane what you were looking for or why each test was important. Linking tests to possible causes helps patients feel involved and less anxious. For example, you could say something like, Jane, I'm ordering blood tests to check your thyroid function because an overactive thyroid can cause your symptoms. The ECG and Holter monitor will help us see if your heart rhythm is abnormal, which could also be causing the palpitations. And the echocardiogram will let us look at how your heart is working overall. By connecting each test to a possible diagnosis, you show your reasoning and help the patient understand the next steps. Would you like to practice how to explain this in a conversation, or do you want more examples?
No, that's great. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thanks one last time, Tim. So we've done this and we've showed this in the context of a sort of a medical-based consultation interaction, but as you can imagine, there's endless additional use cases for this. So that the role of this standardized role player or the simulated patient, that could be anything. That could be someone in a customer service type interaction. It really is, any instance where there's an interaction between a professional and someone else. It could be related to. And the coaching side of it, again, very similar from an education point of view. If you would work with a tutor, if you would work one-on-one, actually we can simulate that role as you've just seen. So thinking about it beyond that, its potential within things like test preparation are obvious, or what you've seen there are formative examples, but actually as we prove the worth and prove the accuracy, the potential is for it to be used in summative assessments as well. So that might be oral assessments such as presentations, professional discussions, interviews. One of the areas where we think it could be really powerful going forward, and there's a big potential to negate some of the challenges related to AI plagiarism in written assessments. Universities around the world are panicking about how they're going to verify the authenticity of written assessments that are given to them. But actually, you could use technology like this to dig into and further understand the knowledge that's been gained by individuals in Viva type situations. We've also done it as a prototype on an English language version as well, and there is the potential as well. It could be used in sort of practical demonstrations with an oral talk along too. So the potential for this is massive. So that brings me to the end. Thanks very much. If you want to discover a little bit more, the website is on screen there. You can sort of take the QR code and it'll take you straight there. Tim and I are around for the Q&A in a few minutes. But thank you very much for the opportunity, and I hope you enjoyed the presentation and enjoyed the rest of SkillsFest today.
Thank you very much, Tad. The world is getting too clever. Oh, and thank you for Tim, actually, for being the recorded voice over the top of that. So really great. But yeah, it's getting too clever, right? I mean, that's a really kind of good consultative model using AI and, you know, machine thinking background. So it's really great. I can see lots of applications for that in education, but also in industry sectors as well. So lots of combinations there. I think really great as well to connect with other providers on the call, other speakers, as well as, of course, people from around the globe. So thank you both, and well done. Great presentation, really interesting, really grabbing of attention. So good. Next up, though, we must move on. We got William Roberts now from the Royal Society of Public Health, otherwise known as RSPH. Hello, William, how are you?
Very good today, thank you. Lovely to be here as well. So hello, my name is William Roberts. I'm the Chief Executive at the Royal Society for Public Health. For those of you that don't know who we are, we're the world's oldest public health body. We're nearly 170 years old, and we were started in Victorian times to effectively create ways to help people become healthier and create a healthier nation. We have a range of things we've been doing over those couple of hundred years, one of which is membership to our body. We have over 6,500 members globally, working in over 180 different professions. We're a training and education provider, covering over 100 subjects across all aspects of public health. We're an Ofqual regulated qualifications body, but also somewhat unusually, we also do policy work and accreditation as well. And I'm going to talk through the work we've been doing, particularly to think about how we can tackle some of the issues around creating healthier communities and a healthier workforce. So if I think about all the people on the call today, we're facing a number of challenges. We have growing physical and mental ill health, and our health services are becoming increasingly stretched. A number of people today on the call have alluded to the challenge that we face around fewer clinically trained staff and fewer nurses and doctors, but also some of the challenges of people moving around the world globally and the difficulties that gives in different parts of the world to have sufficient capacity to deliver care. The other thing which is slightly scary for anybody on this call is that we are also not living as long as we used to, but also if we do live longer, it's often not as well. So we live with long ill health, and that puts real strain on individuals, but it also puts pressure onto your economy. So we're seeing financial pressures and economic inactivity in as much as people aren't able to work as long and therefore contribute to the tax income in their country. And then finally, we also see real challenges around people, a growing divide between people who are healthy and people who are not healthy, and the challenges that brings. So we've been doing this work for, as I said, for 169 years. About 2.5 years ago, we decided to think very differently about this. So we launched a report called The Unusual Suspects, and I will put this into the chat. And that report particularly looked at what could be done if you thought about the people who go wider than just those who are specialists in public health, so the nurses and the doctors and the therapists. How could you work with a wider group of people? So we did a huge piece of work engaging over 10,000 individuals to ask about what would work for them for improving their ability to have better skills to prevent ill health. And they said three things. Firstly, they wanted to do more, except it was very hard to get in. So they'd like to do more public health, but getting into public health was hard. Secondly, once they got in, it was hard to get on and to develop your career. And then finally, if you did manage to get in and then get on, it was also really hard to be recognised. Building on that, we then worked with a range of individuals and organizations to really think about what is it you want from an organization like ours to think about this differently. And they wanted us to very much think about how we could build for them opportunities working with others to create better skills within the workforce. And so that could be somebody obvious like a physiotherapist or a nurse, but it could also be somebody less obvious, such as a tattooist or somebody working in a mortuary, for example. So we have 4 ways in which we think about building capacity and capability now to respond to that. The first is that we already have a range of existing products which develop people's skills. But then what we've developed now is an idea around packages and pathways to create career progressions as well. And I shall talk you through those very briefly. So packages are particularly an idea to work with sectors to meet their workforce needs. So bringing together a tailored set of skills and training to allow their professionals to develop the skills that are needed in particular industries. So think about industries where you may have a shortage of capability and capacity, but also industries where their ability to do something additional that is preventative and improves health can be experienced. And we're particularly working at the moment on some work with sports, fitness and leisure centres, but also thinking about people in the workplace. So what could you do to improve the health in a workplace? People working in communities and community development workers. We have a range of options and ways in which we've done that. And as you can see from the graphic there, really the choice range is infinite in this. And one of the things that's really unusual about what we've done here is this isn't just about working with RSPH, it's also about bringing in other people with their training and development so that it can be an adjunct to enhance ours. And then if I think about pathways, this is the idea of once you get into a role, how can you develop a career? We've been working to think through how can you create a career-long pathway for people who aren't necessarily going to go through a traditional academic route, but also don't just want to do an episodic one-off piece of training. So thinking about how we can create for them a lifelong learning experience that allows them to aggregate learning over their career to develop. And so we've worked with specific sectors to think about how can we increase and enhance the opportunities for people to work with them. So one of the examples is working around emergency planning. We know that after the recent pandemic, there was insufficient distributed skills around emergency planning. It's very easy to become an emergency planner if you work for an emergency planning organisation, but actually the career routes into that and the distributed skills in lots of organisations don't exist. So we've been working with the UK Health Security Agency and NHS England to think about how can we develop a career pathway for people who don't work in that space to develop those skills to potentially become the future emergency planners, but also to become the surge capacity when you do have another pandemic. And so our idea here is to develop for people a basic level of introduction. So you create a simple level of skills, which we have done with our level 2 award in public health, which is a kind of an entry level for public health, but can be used globally anywhere in the world to talk about the basic skills within it. But then you can build in that specific skill sets for different professions. And across the 100+ qualifications and the extra 100 training offers we have, we're able to build any combination of skills in any range of different needs. Just to give you a sense of the scale and the impact of that, we have a huge reach across a whole wide range of sectors and professions. Currently in our membership, we have over 170 different people working in our system. So 170 different professions, and that's spread across 150 different countries and about 25 different professional sectors. So what can we do if you were interested in working with us? We love partnering with people. We're interested in having impact rather than necessarily just seeking market share. And we can work with you to develop collections of educational products to meet the needs of your workforce. We can also curate pathways and qualifications which offer recognition and profession for specific professions and specific roles. And we have a team that have been doing this for the last 170 years. So we know how to do this really well. And then finally, we have an evaluation and research capacity which allows us to work with both governments, NGOs and organisations to think about how you can look at whether or not this is scaled, had impact and delivered the outcomes you want. So if you're interested, please do get in touch. We'd love to talk to you and we'd be very up for a conversation about the things we could do. Thank you.
William, thank you very much indeed, and great to hear about the Royal Society for Public Health. And I love all the training packages, you know, the way that you've broken it up into a modular approach, really, I guess much easier to deliver. Ties in actually with a lot of the research that's being done at the moment, particularly around young people across the world and the way in which they learn these days, which is much more kind of bite-sized, smaller chunks, and they kind of do it on demand. So as they come up against something that's a bit difficult in their life, they'll go away, watch a YouTube video or undertake a piece of training or whatever. And I think, you know, as we move forward, we're going to see less and less of a demand for kind of big, fat, heavy qualifications. Much more nimble seems to be the way forward. And certainly RSPH, it seems to be adopting that as well, which is fantastic. Also, William, you have a big task, right? So the public health of any nation is really, really important, not only just for public health reasons, but actually for economic reasons, you know, economic prosperity and all sorts of different things. So big weight on your shoulders, I think, you and your network. So great. If I could ask the speakers to all come back online, that would be fantastic. And we are just going to cap off with some questions that have come in. I also just want to remind our speakers not to forget to put their details in the chat, just so that people watching can connect if they want to directly, or actually if speakers want to get in touch with each other, then of course you have each other's details in the chat to be able to do so as well. So fantastic. Good. Right. So there was a question or a couple of questions in the chat actually. So when engaging with overseas ministries and stakeholders on skills, what are the top lines that we can cite that are needed to ensure a robust long-term solution? So Jane, I'm going to throw that one at you first, because you have dealt with lots of ministries, but if you're talking to a ministry, kind of what do you think are your top lines about the UK skills and training sector generally?
I think one is to say that we have a package. We have an offer that starts from the labour market insight right the way through to building the skills and training and the educational providers that can do that. So I think it's listening. We need to know what it is they're looking for. We need to do our pre-work to understand that a bit, and then to be able to come in with an example and a model for how we could work with them. So I think those would be the my key suggestions.
And Jane, is it fair to say that often when you have these discussions as well, that you know, ministries will ask for one thing, but actually their country needs another in some respects, because
absolutely,
you know,
yeah,
maybe they don't understand their own needs. Is that right?
Completely. I think it's really getting to the bottom of it and really accessing all the different departments and organisations that are involved, because quite often you'll meet a ministry, but there's a number of other actors and stakeholders that need to be engaged. So understanding that before you go into conversation is really helpful, and that also supports the access of finding out what really is required, and then going through a scoping piece of work to really make sure that what we're offering meets the needs, and working with our incredible partners that we have in the UK to take that package to the table.
Brilliant. And I want to ask other colleagues now about programs for females and hard to reach cohorts. So it doesn't have to just be females, but groups of people, maybe special education needs, maybe hard to reach geographically, whatever. You know, have you got any particular programs that you're championing at the moment and you put together that might be useful to reach those hard to reach groups?
Yeah, it's David here from Ascent. We have a female leadership program that we run. So it's an open program that individuals can be kind of nominated or apply to attend. It's all online, and it's a very easy to access, you know, for female leaders in organisations. So that's one example of what we have.
Any other examples?
Yeah,
Stuart?
Sorry,
go on.
Okay, sorry. Thanks, Jonathan. Very much the same. We've delivered a number of initiatives around women in leadership over the past couple of years and this year. So I did mention the Women in Leadership programme in Botswana, and we have some women in leadership programmes running in the UK as well, and also some pipelined exclusively for women, understanding AI and project management. So it's just kind of opening up topics that would be male dominated a lot of the time to female leaders to access. Is a lot of focus and energy going into that at the moment.
Fantastic. And Stuart, you had your hand up.
Yeah, I was just going to mention, obviously, we're really proud of our alternative education pathway that we've just released as well. This kind of Pathways targeted at pre-16, 16 to 18 and 18 plus students that find traditional academic routes a bit more of a challenge. So it focuses around alternative skills like cognitive and emotional skills, urban beats and art. So it's a little bit more creative, and perhaps will open up different pathways for those students that maybe aren't skilled at sitting in a classroom like I wasn't.
And a question which I ask at every session, but I'm going to ask it again today, just because I love it, because it challenges people. But look, it's all about impact, right? Skills are about jobs. So we create, we want to get people into work, and we want businesses to have the right kind of skilled workforce and skilled talent they need. Like, you've got fantastic offers. So what? What's the impact? What are you actually delivering for businesses? What are you delivering for society? And what difference does it make to an individual person? So anyone want to kind of chip in on that? I'm particularly interested in the innovation model, because that's definitely linked to business and the way that business happens, but also, anyone else really. So William, you're number one on my screen. So number one.
So I think it's important to think about capability and capacity building as a sustainability offer. I think it's really important to think about that. But I think the other bit is the work we do is to find the sweet spot of what is needed by businesses and by their community, but also is what is needed by learners. And the real impact we have is by creating workforces that can endure for the entirety of their careers. And so if I think about the first thing we did in 1908, which was a red meat qualification to make sure people in abattoirs didn't poison thousands of people because of the way in which they slaughtered their animals and kept their cold chain, we still deliver that now with the Food Standards Agency. Wow. 120 years on. That alone has saved millions of lives. And so the challenge, therefore, is to think about how do you build the capability and capacity that will endure, but also to ensure that those individuals can raise themselves out of poverty, because globally the biggest challenge is getting people into work that can create for them meaningful careers that allow them to pay for the food on their table and create meaningful experiences for them. And that's what we've been doing for 170 years now.
Fantastic. Great answer as well. David.
Yeah, I think in terms of impact, I think one of my slides I said the most important thing is to understand what impact the client wants. So impact can be in so many forms. For some organisations, they want a financial return on investment that they can measure. For others, it's much bigger society level benefits and the level of innovation. So for us, it's about having that conversation really early and really clear, and how are we going to measure that impact, and agreeing all of that up front before you get into deciding what a programme might be. So
many of you have talked about the kind of non-technical skills, more personal skills, human skills, and all of that. Is this really kind of going up the agenda overseas? Are you really seeing a shift in your training programs to incorporate more of these kind of skills? And if so, how is it changing your programs? So it could be literally anything from entrepreneurship, leadership, anything. David.
I mean, obviously our business is the personal and behavioural skills. So we would say this, wouldn't we? But actually, if you look at the kind of the World Economic Forum and their annual kind of review of the future skills that are needed, a higher and higher proportion of the top 10 are in these personal skills area. They're not all. There's some technical skills in there as well, obviously, but a significant proportion, an increasing proportion, are in these personal skills. But they're quite wide ranging, of course, from self-awareness to working with other people to critical thinking. So
brilliant, thank you. Yeah. Jane.
We've just been working with the International Labour Organization to help embed, to support teachers, curriculum writers and assessors in embedding these core foundational skills, because in a way, these are the skills that help us transition when our jobs change, when we need to think about new career pathways, which of course we're all having to do as jobs are being impacted by digital and AI. And I think the one thing to say is, where in the past we always thought of core skills as being the soft skills, the sort of presenting, team working, communication, now they do include the digital skills, they include the green sustainability, they include other skills that we wouldn't have necessarily seen as being foundations, but they're there now and we have to embed them in everything that we do.
Brilliant, thank you. And as time is almost up, I want to just go round the clock and ask each of you for 15 seconds about why people watching this, whether they're in the UK or overseas, should engage with you and your organisation. So I'm going to take it in order, and David, you are on first on my screen. So David, over to you.
Okay, I think our kind of USP is one that everything we do is founded in science, but also we can be extremely agile globally, creating bespoke programs for our clients, whether that is a government organisation, public sector or private sector. So agility and bespoke service.
Thank you so much. Tad, you're next. It's like creeping death, this, isn't it?
Couldn't find the right button. I guess the key to Risr is innovation, and I'm sitting here in a room with an organisation called Innovate UK, so that seems rather ironic. But no, we're at the cutting edge of trying to provide solutions in an area in medical and healthcare, of which, you know, are there any more important areas than that? So we're leading the way in trying to provide technological solutions which improve human interactions.
Thank you, Jane.
We provide the foundations. So we'll look at the labour needs, we'll work with our partners, and we'll come back with that workforce planning for the future. So Skills for Health and our organisations, our sector skills councils in the UK can do that, and we work through the UK Skills Partnership.
Magic. Thank you, William.
So we're a great partner. We do really great work, and it's good enough for the king, so it's probably good enough for everybody else.
There's an answer. You can't really argue with that, can you, Stuart?
Can't really follow that one, can I? But I guess as a certification body, we're deeply committed to the education and the results that can bring. We are deeply committed to transformation, empowering learners. We're about creativity, innovation. So obviously, in order to have the biggest impact we can globally, we need partners to do that and to influence that change.
Thank you so much, Debbie.
Yeah, I think the UK has an academic and technical education system that should be celebrated, and I think that's why we are where we are now, in terms of not only being able to promote that, but also looking at the added value that employers need around it. So I think it's all of those skills we've talked about today going beyond technical, and I think that's why we need to work together better to make sure that businesses have that, all of those component parts to be able to excel and grow our economy and society.
Absolutely, and you know, collaboration, partnership is definitely in amongst all of that, because everyone actually is more powerful together. Abby, anything to add to what Debbie said? Sorry, I put my teeth back in.
That's okay. Yeah, I just I fully reiterate what Debbie said. I think we're passionate about innovation skills because innovation can unlock growth. And at Innovate UK, we're investing in innovation to improve lives and livelihoods. And we want as many people to have these opportunities to build innovation skills and then reap the future benefits as possible.
Fantastic. Thank you, Victoria. Thank you for joining us all the way from Malaysia.
Thanks, Jonathan. You're very welcome. Always a pleasure. Okay, so Learning Curve Group, we are very much ahead of the curve, pardon the pun, when it comes to training and development. We offer an end-to-end learning solution. So your EdTech platforms, your careers guidance tools, your online TVET qualifications, soft skills short courses covering a range of key and prevalent topics, curriculum development services that are accredited by recognised awarding bodies, and we are a very keen and passionate collaborator. We see a lot of value in collaborating with awarding bodies, training providers, government agencies, like the UK Skills Partnership. So we would take the pain out of any kind of change process and be a key partner to handhold you through any projects. Thank you.
Thank you so much indeed. So that does give an opportunity, Tim, as you were the pretend doctor, if you want to add anything.
I think it's just we're seeing kind of new opportunities for innovation using AI and using but to accentuate the kind of human skills, using AI to help with our human skills, which is
fantastic.
Interesting.
I'm just going to close it there then. So thank you very much indeed to all of you. So Victoria and Debbie and Abby and Jane, David and Stuart and Tad and Tim and William for joining us from your organisations. Everyone watching, please do get in touch with these organisations because they are brilliant at what they do. We love the UK Skills Training and Professional Bodies cohort that there is. Just a reminder about Skills Fest. There are some more sessions. There's another one at 12 in just 2 hours time, and another one this afternoon at 4 o'clock. Different speakers, different topics, different industries, different subjects coming up. And the final session is tomorrow morning at 8 o'clock. Do join us then. I've been Jonathan Ledger from the Department for Business and Trade. It's been a pleasure to have you all here. Thanks very much indeed, everybody. Thank you.
Thanks, Jonathan.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks,
Thank you,
Jonathan.
everyone.
Thanks,
Thank you.
everyone.
Bye-bye.
Take
Thanks,
care.
everyone.
Bye-bye.